All right, guys. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah. So tell everybody who you are and the name of your restaurant.
My name is Kevin Edelman, and I'm a co-owner of Bickering Twins restaurant in Ithaca, New York.
Yeah, and I'm Corey Edelman.
Gotcha. Sweet. So Bickering Twins. So, tell me a bit about the restaurant.
So we serve Mexican and Latin American cuisine. We've been open for 6 years. We became a LLC in 2016, so we were operating 2 years before that. We were just 24, 25 years old, trying to get into the restaurant business. We were doing catering out of like a rented commissary kitchen, and we were doing some pop-up dinners in various places, which had a decent following and led us to try to follow that idea into a full restaurant concept.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, what made you want to get into the restaurant business? Because I know you're saying you went to Syracuse, you went to Ithaca.
Yeah.
Right? So, what did you all go to school for? What was your major?
Yeah, so I went for music business. So I did have an interest in business, and our grandfather was an entrepreneur. He was in the grocery business, and I remember being young and thinking I wanted to own a business, even when I was a little kid, but I don't think I knew what that meant really or really entailed.
Yeah.
But I guess that's an idea I got in my head when I was young. And then, he went to IC and...
Yeah, I studied anthropology, which sounds unrelated at first, but it ended up bringing me to Latin America to study, which led to an interest in Latin American culture and food, to learning the language, and then later we based the concept around Latin American food. So it does tie in. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So how did you get into tacos just from that, from just your kind of love for the culture and everything like that?
Sort of. I don't know that I have I try to have an abridged straight version. I think I came back from South America and I missed the life that I had there. I missed speaking Spanish. I missed the food, and I don't know, there's a whole different way of living, and ways that the ways that people interact around food is different.
Yeah.
Not to shit on American cuisine but it just, people were making cooking from scratch every day for every meal. It really showed me a different way of eating and living. I think I just missed that, and I was wanting to tap into that. Yeah. We could say. That's cool. Yeah, going back one step, as far as getting into the restaurant industry, for me, we both we're in college, but I'm not a very academic person, and I was craving working with my hands. And so I was sort of craving the, your family sends you to do one thing, you're sort of crave the opposite. I was I want to try something else. And I was drawn towards restaurants. I had been a server in high school. I had washed dishes in college, and I just felt like I fit in, and I kept following that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, Ithaca has got a pretty interesting food scene for sure. And are there many but I'm not too familiar with the Mexican or Latin American restaurants down there. Are there a lot of them?
I would say there's a handful.
Yeah.
One of them is Viva, that's been around for 30 years, and they do mostly burritos and things like that. And then there's another place that's probably been around for a decade or so called Old Mexico. Okay. And then they have another location up at the mall with a slightly different name, but similar concept.
Gotcha.
Those are the main ones that come to my mind. Yeah.
Yeah. Syracuse itself has had a huge influx of Mexican restaurants over the past couple years. They're more Tex-Mex than anything else. I wouldn't maybe besides a dish or two, I wouldn't say there's anything authentically Mexican. Or not even, even though that's kind of a dumb thing to say because it's all based on region, but none of them are really great.
Yeah. I don't know the food scene out in Syracuse super well. I remember there was one popular Mexican place, and I don't know if it's open anymore, but there was
Alto Cinco.
No, not that one.
They're still open.
There was another Remember Monica knew some people that.
Oh,
loved
yeah, I
this
think
one
it closed.
restaurant? Yeah.
There was the
Anyways.
Mission that was here for
The
years.
Mission. That was the one, yeah.
Yeah, the Mission was open for like 25 years, I think, and he shut down during COVID and sold that building to another restaurant owner in town who they did something. They did like a California Mexican, they called it.
Yeah, that's a style,
Yeah, called Luna Loca. Was that sarcasm? Was that as sarcastic as I think it was? Or were you?
Oh, no.
Okay. I know California Mexican's a style, but for a second.
No, I wasn't.
Because I feel like everybody who doesn't know Mexican food just started calling themselves a California
Well,
Mexican.
yeah, the way you said it, I was like, oh, but no, I actually know several businesses that identify that way, and yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And so I could talk the rest of this podcast on the people that call themselves Southern or California Mexican.
Yeah.
So they opened that, but they were only open for like a year and then got out of it. And then now it's more of a fine dining restaurant in that space. Still
It's a
little
cool
church.
building, I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, we drove all the way here to go there, and it was closed.
Oh,
Years
really?
ago, yeah, when it was the Mission. Yeah,
That sucks. That's like one of my pet peeves is when a restaurant doesn't have their hours updated or anything like that.
yeah, I think that's what happened. Yeah,
That's super annoying.
yeah.
As somebody like myself, I write that restaurant off. It will be a while before I go back
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah. That can do some damage. Yeah.
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 I just feel like that's like kind of 101, you know? Anyways, so Syracuse had kind of a big influx in like Mexican restaurants. I'm not too well versed on authentic Mexican or South American or Latin American cuisine, but I lived in Texas. That's my claim to fame when it comes to Mexican food.
Good exposure there.
Yeah, and some of my best friends there were Mexican or Texican, as we called them. But their family, whenever we'd go over to their parents' house, they always had a garbage bag of tortilla dough just constantly that they would replenish and be ready. So anytime you ate over at their parents' house, you had fresh tortillas.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was always really good.
When we started, we were pressing our own tortillas, and it was a ton of work. But yeah, not when we had the brick and mortar restaurant. So when Kevin had mentioned that we started in 2016, and essentially we operated like 2 to 3 times a week.
Okay.
And for those like events, we pressed our own tortillas.
Yeah.
And man, was it a lot of work.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy. Crazy.
Yeah.
Work. There's only one spot in town that does that, and the name of her restaurant is Birria Queso Tacos.
Oh, okay.
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the birria, that whole thing has really taken off the
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that was like one of the few trends. Syracuse is always like 5 or 6 years behind food trends or anything like that that's hitting in like Los Angeles or New York or Buffalo. And for some reason, birria, as soon as it was like hitting Instagram, I mean, granted, birria has been around forever.
Yeah, but it hit Instagram hard. Like, I
Yeah,
know
maybe would you explain that to me a little bit, because I'm not well versed in the social media world, and I know the gist. I know it's gotten really popular. I know there's whole restaurants based around it, but what is up with that? What is that all about? For
Instagram.
Let's start with birria.
Yeah.
and
like birria quesadillas, because that's usually eaten just as a soup and
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you're in Mexico, right, especially if you're in specific regions of Mexico, you're not getting birria, queso, anything, right, where it's just smothered in cheese and all that.
it probably depends, but yeah.
Yeah. So her name is, this lady's name is Candy. Her family's from Jalisco, and her dad, that's where she was born and raised in Los Angeles, but her family originally is from Jalisco. Her dad, where birria is from, and her dad was known as like the king of birria in their neighborhood. And then when they were in Los Angeles, he was like making birria all the time, and she just watched him as she grew up, watching his recipe and his methods of cooking birria. And so I forget how she got to Syracuse, but she started just like doing it out of her kitchen at home, created a Facebook page, would take orders over Facebook Messenger and Venmo, and then deliver them to people's houses in a cooler, like as far as 30, 40 minutes away.
Yeah.
And then last year she went into like a test kitchen space that we have. She was there like 1 or 2 days a week. And then now she has her own restaurant. But I found her last year. Every year I do like the best tacos in the area, I call it, search. And I do a birria category and a non-birria category. And the last 2 years, I've said she has the best. You know? I mean, her family is Mexican, right? Her heritage, and she's the only person that makes her own tortillas in town.
That's really cool. Yeah. Well, why do you think that trend took off though? Like that one dish.
Yeah. I don't know.
What is that about?
I'm assuming it's just there was this one spot in, I think it was in Los Angeles, that was like not only did they I never eaten there, but their all of their photos and videos were just like these massive overfilled beef tacos oozing with cheese,
That's it.
consomme, and being dipped. And
it looked good.
It's continued, right? It's been lasted for years.
And a lot of times the tortillas were like orange because they'd be sort of like cooked in like
they dip them in consomme,
the fat.
Yeah. We have a birria quesadilla on our menu, and we had a guy working as a kitchen supervisor, and he was like 20, and we were serving birria, the stew, right? He said, "Why don't we put it in a quesadilla?" He must have been I knew it was a trend, but I was like, sure. And we kept it on the menu. It sells really well. Like I'm aware that it's a trend. I didn't like put it there for that, but I was like, oh, and it'll be good for business. And it seems like people buy it because it's just popular in that way. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think anything that can look anything that can look, look the part is what people are going to go after. Nowadays, if anybody and everybody does birria,
It's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. Not all of it's good. Not all of it's great. And I have noticed that there's the slight variations in people's birria recipe, and even like what I prefer. Like I prefer a lot of clove in my birria. But there's a place out in Rochester called Neno's, and I think they have 2 locations plus a food truck. And I was out there like a month ago and did a video there, and they showed me actually I just posted it today. They showed me their entire process from like A to Z on how they make their birria. And it was really, really interesting to see them do it. But, and obviously they had to like let it stew for a couple days and all that. But, I never knew that there was like in theirs, they use a shit ton of toasted sesame seeds.
Oh yeah, we do. We use sesame as well.
Really?
Yeah.
I never have tasted that in birria. So it's really interesting to see that.
Yeah. I think there's probably a bunch of recipes that don't use any sesame, but yeah. We adapted ours from a certain cookbook, and that chef used sesame, and I thought, and a little bit of ginger he used, and I thought that sounded interesting. So
yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's just, it's like social media. It's like kind of whatever hits right now. And in the food world, people can, and for everybody listening, those are our lovely construction workers upstairs. It's kind of whatever hits, whatever just pops off as a trend. I mean, right now you've got the Hawktua girl out there. If you guys have seen that.
What is it?
Have you guys seen this Hawktua? Oh my God. Are you guys not on social media a lot?
We're like old
I'm
men.
not. I'm not.
That look young. We don't spend much time on social media. Yeah.
I'm gonna find this, and I can't wait to show this to you.
What is it called?
It's called Hawktua. Hold on, I'm gonna find it.
I don't even know what you're saying.
It's incredibly inappropriate.
Is it food?
No, it's not food.
Okay.
All right. So here's the setup. There's a guy, if you've seen the videos of like people when they're like out on the street, like New York City or big cities, and they're like asking people questions with a microphone.
Yeah.
And it's like just go viral clips.
Yeah.
So this guy was doing that in Nashville, and this girl gave the answer. But he was asking women on the streets in Nashville, like, what do you do to like turn your partner on? Okay.
Which move in bed that makes a man go crazy every time?
You gotta give him that hawk too and spit on that thing.
All right, so that's her response. The thing's got like billions or hundreds of millions of views.
Yeah.
I mean, it just took off and went wildly viral like that. Okay. And it looks like something from like 8 years ago, but it was like 2 weeks ago.
Okay. 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago, it just started going viral. So, so people, so she goes viral for that. She actually, I think she like lost her job as a preschool teacher because of that. But then she came out with like
I'm just gonna keep laughing sporadically.
She came out with like Hawk Tuah inspired hats. You know, it's like the election hat. You know, it says like Hawk Tuah 24.
Yeah.
And she started selling those, and she made like over $1 million or something like that. Just in those sales, she was just on like the Zach Bryan concert. Like he brought her on stage in Nashville.
Oh my god.
But then how does that translate for restaurant sales? Well, I'm glad you asked. So then people come out with that cocktail.
Oh my god.
The Hawk Tuah cocktail where it's garnished with a whole banana and the tip sticking out and whipped cream on it. If anybody, our friends over at Brews and Banter podcast.
So yeah,
posted
things
it.
just.
Yeah,
You're saying certain things just catch and people just go with it.
like
yeah.
that guy creating
Oh,
a video in
man.
Nashville asking hot women on the street
Yeah.
why, what they do to turn their man on. That girl saying Hawk to a spit on that thing turns into a bar in Phoenix, New York, making a fucking cocktail
crazy.
with that,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
selling 100 of them.
Yeah.
Right? Who the fuck knows?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Where the butterfly decided to flap its wings and that all happened, but it fucking happened.
Yeah.
It would be funny though to think of if the birria trend in the States started with somebody in Mexico making a like illicit video like that.
Yeah.
And then translated to birria tacos 20 years later in,
that's
in
crazy.
fucking Ithaca.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you've had this restaurant for 6 years. What's it been like?
It's a big question. It's been lots of ups and downs. So COVID happened 2 years into the brick and mortar spot.
Yeah.
And we felt like we were kind of just getting our groove. We had a lot of hard lessons to learn in the first 2 years. And when we were getting our feet underneath us, COVID hit. We bought a bunch of buffet supplies and we're about to open it. We used to be open for lunch and dinner. Now we're only open for dinner.
Okay.
Right before COVID happened, we were about to do a lunch buffet and we had all the equipment and everything. And then we were gonna launch a new happy hour with all this added cool bar snacks and things. And COVID happened, and then those things that we were gonna do we never opened for lunch again. We're only open for dinner, and we haven't done happy hour since. So COVID threw a big wrench, but it also, there was like lots of funding for restaurants, and we invested that back in the business, the parts that we were able to, and so it wasn't all bad.
Yeah.
And a season after, like in 2021, when people thought COVID was over, after like the first wave, like we had like one of the best summers ever.
Wow.
And every day felt like a Saturday night, literally every day for the entire summer. So
Wow.
there's been lots of ups and downs. And when we started, we both were in the kitchen all the time. And we worked when the first opening weeks, we worked like 100 hours a week, which I used to think people were lying or just like it was a big pissing contest when people I'd heard chefs say that I worked 100 and I was like, you did not work 100 hours, but we did. So
Yeah.
So I get it now, and then we were working pretty like rough shifts. Since then, we've sort of moved more into like managerial roles and don't do as much of the cooking, which has made the business run much smoother.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's it like being able to go to dinner service only? Is that I'm assuming that's obviously it's your choice, but is that a good choice?
I think it's the right choice for now. I think Ithaca is like a very specific market. I think we don't have a big downtown. There aren't a lot of office workers. There isn't like a huge lunch market, especially when what we're doing. I think there's a lunch market for like grab and go, like maybe $12 or less, but we'd have to charge more than that.
Yeah.
I don't think for like we're somewhere in the middle. We're not like fancy, but I don't think that our price point, like we can't match what people are looking for lunch. So I don't think it makes a lot of sense for us to be open.
Yeah.
That being said, like I'd love to expand our hours, but it's been tough where we are. It seems like the demand is for like, we're also an early town. Bars are only open till 1. Every restaurant pretty much closes by 10.
Yeah.
It's just kind of hard, so that we we've also found, well, if the demand is going to be for a specific time, let's be there during that demand and not open during slower times, because that's a way to lose money fast as well. Yeah.
That was a COVID thing of like having the most condensed out. We're open for like 4 hours a day, but I mean, it's even hard with that. It's just like any time where it's not booming, just feels like you're losing money. And it's just really like cutthroat. So, sometimes I go hard in one direction thinking I'm doing the right thing, and then look back years later and was like, I don't know why I was so confident about that decision. And, you know, when you have like new perspective after you've already done something, it's easy looking back. Yeah. So, but it seems to be working quite well, like the very concentrated time that we're open for business. Because, we used to be open for lunch and also like late night. Like we were open till like 11. Now we're open till like 9. But it's just there was too many nights that weren't busy, and then you're keeping the staff there, and it's just
for sure
doesn't work out.
If I get a whiff that people like really would come out for lunch, like I think we'd do it. But I don't predict that that will happen. But if we think the demand is there, we'll meet it. I think something we don't want to do is like take a big risk, do it, and find out that there isn't no demand for it. So
for sure.
Yeah.
It's listen, say you guys are like describing Syracuse and your nightlife scene, like even downtown. Like downtown, there's a couple places that are open late, but for the most part, all the restaurants close at like 10 o'clock on a Friday or Saturday night. With the exception of like maybe one or two, and definitely not right now because college is out. Like the places that are open till like midnight, 1 a.m. aren't busy at all.
Yeah.
Even the bars, like there's a couple bars that are. I mean, there's more than a few bars that are open really late in downtown Syracuse, but with the exception of like a couple of them, they are busy. It's not like it's not. Syracuse doesn't have a big nightlife scene.
Yeah.
I mean, Friday, Saturday nights, Armory Square, you kind of don't want to be down there. As it is, the crowd that is down, like there's cops stationed at, the intersections, and they don't really do much. So you don't really want to be in Armory Square late at night anyways. But the places that are open late don't do well.
Yeah.
I'd imagine Ithaca is pretty similar to Syracuse in the regard of like college is really what drives most of the business.
I think it drives a lot of the economy for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And like in the summers and things, like when the students leave in the winters, like also professors go on vacation also. So the town kind of just empties out.
Yeah.
So it's more of a seasonal town than I thought. Like I didn't really call it that or think of it that way.
Yeah.
But it is that way. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have got a client that, is just a bar. It's a beer garden, and they're half a mile from Syracuse University. But when school's in session, they're slammed. It's just there's so many college kids there, and especially like if there's a home SU game, and especially if SU wins, the aftermath of that, of all those people going out, it's crazy. It's amazing what that can do for a restaurant's week. By just picking up that after a game crowd.
Yeah, totally.
But if they lose, those restaurants are dead.
Yeah, that must be hard to staff, not knowing if they're going to win.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What's it like in Ithaca? Because up here, I feel like for the most part, even though there's a lot, people still complain like crazy. I'd say for the most part, society is accepted that like restaurants still aren't going to be fully staffed. Is that pretty much the case down there?
You're asking how customers react to like the staffing?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, staffing's been hard in some ways, but I think we're like properly staffed. I don't, for the most part, like we're not short staffed. I mean, it can be hard to find the right staff. We haven't had too much of an issue with that as far as like how tolerant people will be if things aren't going right.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think at this point, people expect fairly like normal service. Like, I think that grace period has passed. Like maybe during 20 to 22, if food or drink took a long time or something wasn't up to par, like you had sort of an excuse. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think people like expect full service and good service.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
I would agree, and I would also say that it was really hard to staff during COVID, but like in the past 2 years, 1.5 to 2 years, we've had a really solid staff and like less turnover. But we've learned certain things like that have helped, like just having less servers so that they each make more money has just kept people around
sure.
for a long
But
time.
you need the right ones because if you have a staff of not the right ones, then you're not giving good service and people are waiting. So, but you have like 2 or 3 of the right people. That's the key. Then things are gonna go all right.
Yeah, for sure. So tell me, like, how big is the restaurant? Like, how many seats do you all have?
Yeah, we have 85 seats inside, and then during the summer we have like a 20-person outdoor section. We're in the basement, so but like up on the street level, we do 20 seats up there.
That's cool.
There's no awning, so it's like very weather dependent.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
And we have like about 70 dining room seats and then 14 bar seats.
Okay.
And we just renovated the bar last May, and that was a big. That was a great thing that we did. It was a big investment, but also the right choice, I think, for us. And yeah.
So was there any, I know your grandfather was in the grocery business, but was there anybody that was in the restaurant industry? I mean, I know you guys are from Jersey. I don't know what part.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the same part that I'm thinking about that
we're from like
wax people.
We're from northern Jersey.
Okay.
There was no one in our family in the restaurant business, and like we didn't come from a family that cooked a lot. It's a little hard to explain what got us into it.
I think you guys are the unicorn that people have talked about in the past. I never knew existed.
What do they say? Like,
didn't grow up in the industry, didn't really cook a whole hell of a lot, and open up a restaurant.
Yeah.
I think it's not like the sexiest answer, but I think that we were growing up at a time where there was so much food media that I think that's what brought me to it. Like there was interesting cooking shows on Vice, and then just like diners, drive-ins, and dives. I really loved that, getting to see behind the scenes of like how much scratch made food there is, even in like small unsuspecting restaurants. Yeah. I know I was amazed by that, and we did grow up in a family that appreciated good food and loved eating and ate out a decent amount. So I can say that. And then, like Kevin said, just being people that like working with our hands, and it just kind of clicked. We tried it, and we liked the adrenaline of working in restaurants. We just started working in restaurants out of college, which I think is like a typical thing. And if you don't have like a set path, that's something that people do before college or after college or when they're figuring stuff out. Yeah. And I think for us, well, I'll speak for myself. I was just like, this is for me. I just liked the environment, and
we both did. And also, Corey more than myself, I would say, is like, I think he's just like a natural entrepreneur. So we decided on that industry, like for the reasons he described. We like loved the lifestyle at the time and everything. And then Corey was like, if this guy can do it, I can do it sort of mindset. And so we I don't know. But specifically him had this like, I will make this work, and I like won't like, I'll like die before I stop. We don't have that intensity anymore, but we did at the time. We really did. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so we just got hooked on this idea. Like he said, there was a ton of like media showing behind the scenes of restaurants. Like it was inspiring a lot of people. I would imagine you could relate to some of that, having gotten into this part of the business. And we were just like, okay, this is what we want to do, and we went in like really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to help be a part of a ghost kitchen where I was a partner in the restaurant, and that was listen, it's a ton of fun. I grew up and my dad went to school for restaurant and hotel management, and he's owned restaurants throughout his whole life. When I was like 9 or 10 years old, my parents we used to live in like the Cincinnati area. They owned a diner, and so I remember like I was homeschooled at the time, which meant I was just up there washing dishes, and, helping to wait tables and stuff. So I knew, and seeing my parents involved in this industry, I knew the struggle that existed, even going into like starting Eat Local. And that was a big part of like, trying to do free stuff for restaurants to help them grow. Just because I knew how difficult it was. But yeah, I got to be a part of opening up a ghost kitchen in town we just did fried chicken sandwiches, and it's a lot of fun. I mean,
Yeah.
going in the kitchen, trying to find recipes, going into the kitchen, trying to figure out like better ways to do things, better ways to make a sauce or bread chicken or
Yes.
all
that
that
is
kind of
fun.
stuff is a blast. And even cooking. I mean, listen, being on the line, swamped, drip, sweat dripping off your face, like it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It also sucks so much, and life is awful.
I have such that mix of
Yeah, it's
contradictory
both.
feelings
Yeah.
about it. Yeah.
I mean, I remember on a Super Bowl Sunday being like elbow deep in chicken wings for just 8 hours and
Yeah.
thinking to myself, what in the fuck have I done with my life
Yeah.
that has led me to this place?
Yeah.
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 Now I'm married and I've got we've got a son that's like almost 2 at home. So it's a lot different today than it would be if I was single or whatever the case is. But
Yeah.
especially like when you're away from family and you're working and, on the line or doing whatever the fuck you have to do for your restaurant, it can suck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely. We can both relate.
Yeah, we definitely had that sort of, kind of emotional, like
Yeah.
loving it and hating it. Yeah, like when we used to be so involved in the cooking, it just wasn't sustainable. But like being 22, 24 and not having a lot of things tying us down at the time and being able to work long shifts and sort of, I guess the adrenaline is like I've mentioned a few times, like you said, when you have a huge line of tickets, it could almost be fun to be in the weeds,
Right.
even though it's not maybe great for the customers. And as we were figuring stuff out and figuring out how to come up with better systems,
It's
and better
fun
ways
as an
of doing
experience,
things.
but it's not fun when you're
As your
when you
life.
look at it as like a career in your life. And so after I would say after 3 years, that's when it switched.
Yeah.
And especially getting through COVID, we pared our staff down to nothing. It was like me and Corey, and we had one supervisor doing everything. When we were allowed to serve people in the restaurant, we did. When we weren't, we didn't. But you still have to set up the whole kitchen, wash dishes, and then when we came out of that, we were like, okay, so we had funding to help us rebound. But I was like, we need to do things differently. And COVID had forced us to be Corey was washing dishes, I was on the line, and one other guy was on the line. And that set us back in the wrong direction of we are doing literally everything. And then I was like, okay, if we're gonna make it moving forward, we need to get out of here. But that's what we've worked for the last 3 years, which I do believe in that method, but also it's expensive to hire someone else to do it. So yeah, we're working at it.
Yeah. I mean, what's better, having a little bit more money and not as much anxiety, or more anxiety and a little bit more money?
Yeah.
And not having any time. It's
Right.
more money and no time to use it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it used to be like. And we prefer this way, although we're still ironing things out. It's definitely a challenge. Yeah.
Did you have to deal with, did you notice any feelings of guilt when you were stepping away from doing everything and then starting to hire people out for some of those positions?
Yeah, I would say so. I feel like I was felt prideful to have been so involved, and there's people that work there now that they don't even know. They don't know that much about our history, so I don't even think they can imagine me doing all the work. I'm the guy that sits on the laptop now, but I used to be doing everything. I'd be frying something, and then I'd run upstairs outside to run someone their food. There was a day when I was doing that, but it didn't make me the best boss either. So yes, well, there's been some guilt and some pride issues, I guess you could say. I've it's while doing all this work as a chef, you also have to deal with, you have to make sure the whole operation is financially
Right.
stable, and all your employees' issues are your issues also, and you have to be able to address a whole host of issues. You have to do marketing things, you have to do accounting things. So it just didn't. It was just not gonna work for me for long term. For
sure.
And then I just felt like I couldn't, if I had to handle any HR disciplinary kind of stuff. How can I do that when I'm cooking 10 hours a day?
Right.
So I guess I've rationalized that to myself that this is like better for everybody.
Yeah.
Like I can be there. There's a lot of responsibilities as like an owner and as a like we kind of look at ourselves as like the general managers. We have like floor managers, but and so it's like how can I be like the general manager and also be like hands on everything? I couldn't. So this definitely. Yeah, unless I was going to hire a general manager and then I could be the cook.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's a much better way to put it, is like the pride of it, not necessarily the guilt.
Yeah.
Because there definitely is something in just being like, hey, I did everything.
Yeah.
And even if you're not like going home or going to tell friends or going online and like writing a blog about how you just did everything in your restaurant that night, there's still just something about knowing. It's like the silent suffering of it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I did this, I can do this and fuck you. And, I really own a restaurant now because I can do all this stuff in one night if I have to.
Yeah.
But it's a shitty life. It's a really shitty life.
Yeah.
you know? And I don't know if we were meant for that. I don't know if we were, when we were created, it was meant.
I had that feeling too. Yeah. I can relate to that, that thought process. Yeah. So is that what you came to sort of after doing that for a while? Like,
no. So I've always been like a little bit of I can do it sort of mentality. We grew up in church. And so that was just like, and growing up in church and my parents being from hospitality, it was like we were there whenever and just volunteering, always trying to put others above yourself. Which is funny because I've become an incredibly self-centered person, especially in my later years. But and then I used to live in Austin, and so when I lived in Austin, I worked at a mega church, and my job at that mega church was like stage manager, production manager. So just making sure that they had 5,000 people, let's say, through their doors on a Sunday for multiple services. And my job was to make sure that every department head throughout the building, like the lighting person was on point, the band director was on point, the lead singer, all these different things were happening. And also being able to like call audibles if needed. And so those 3 years really taught me just like, you have to get stuff done. Doesn't matter. Like there was one night for like a church conference where they brought in like these huge trees, like, I don't know, 20-foot tall trees on stage for part of the set design. And me and another guy had to stay up all night, like literally all night long and work to build these boxes to go around the base of the trees. And then at like 6 a.m, when like our boss showed up, he was like, "Oh, I don't like those. We need to go back to the other
I
thing."
knew you were gonna say that. Yeah.
and I just remember, but even then, it was just like the job has to get done. Like you just have to do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, definitely the restaurant. So I've kind of had that in me for like the last 12 years of just like the job has to get done. Know how to prioritize, which I think a lot is important in a restaurant industry. If you're busy, like. You have to know what has to, you might have 20 things to do, but this one has to go down first, right?
Yeah.
Toss your fries in the basket before you start putting your salad together, right? Whatever the case is. So like those two things, and it just continues through the restaurant. I was dumb enough though that having my marketing business and my influencer side of things and my Eat Local card. And then being a partner in this ghost kitchen where I was only up there like so often. So my partner in the ghost kitchen owned a restaurant that was just dead. They do like $600,000 a year in sales, and 70% of that comes from like June to September. So especially in the colder months, they're just incredibly slow. And so he came to me and he was like, "Hey, what do you think about doing a ghost kitchen together?" So we came up with the concept and we launched it. But it was their staff that was doing everything. So we didn't have to hire anybody. I would go up there and do ordering and, and be up there maybe a couple hours a week. But for the most part, it's not like I was in there running the restaurant. And so after like 6 months, their general manager for the restaurant quit. And instead of immediately running to hire somebody, I just volunteered. I was like, "Hey, I can run the barbecue restaurant. I've done barbecue before. And I'll run, and I'll be up here for 3 when fried." So I took on that job, and that was 3 months after yeah, 2 months after my wife and I had our our son. So 2-month-old
lot.
son
Yeah.
at home.
Yeah,
my
yeah.
wife's home. Now I'm
That sounds
working.
rough,
I've got
yeah.
my marketing business and I'm running this restaurant. And but it was just one of those things where it was like, something needs to get done. I can do it.
Yeah.
And it was incredibly stupid.
Yeah.
Very, very stupid. One of
Yeah.
the dumbest things I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of dumb shit. That was
Yeah.
one of the dumbest things I've ever done. in my life.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you guys can relate to that, being restaurant owners. You just
Definitely. Well, and I related to that idea that you said at some point your brain clicks and says, I don't think we were meant for this. I had this idea that I could do everything, and it was like a contest with myself, like how many hours could I work. But at some point in the last couple of years, something completely switched. It's been for the best. And I'm like, okay, big shit if I can like meet that own challenge that I randomly set for myself. Like that's not that important to me anymore.
Right.
So yeah, I had this idea, this like, yes, I can physically like tolerate this and do this, but this isn't like, yeah, I don't think humans were like meant to,
right.
like I was like, yes, I can be like a full-time chef and cook and lead the front of house and market and run the financial side. And then someone comes in and they're like, can you sign this bill? And I was like, yeah, I physically was doing it all, but we're not meant to do that. No, to be pulled in that many directions. It's doable, but I would say at a pretty big cost.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just like what kind of a life is that at
Yeah.
the end of our lives?
Well, that's what I had to learn. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're in a place where a lot of people are thinking that. I don't know if they're thinking about it and is, seriously as like, was I created to be doing everything and, killing myself for this? But I don't know. I don't know if you guys experience that with restaurant or business owners down in Ithaca, but I experience it more and more around here of just people like,
I agree.
Should I really be doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that like the way people say that COVID accelerated a lot of trends that were already happening. I think that's a trend, for lack of a better word, that got accelerated. It was everyone being forced to pause and reflect on what they were doing, the way that the Great Resignation and people stopping their jobs and traveling and maybe never going back to the job they were working. You could sort of say we left like a certain lifestyle behind and never went back because like it was just go all the time, and then something forced us to stop. And then there was a lot of time to reflect, and there was also time we were less busy, and there was like time to make a new plan, sort of, rather than just getting up every day and just having to like. There was no time to like think about this or what direction we want to take it in, or to what end are we doing all, putting in all this effort. It was just like you said, just get it done, what has to be done.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I mean there's there's no more like 24/7 places in Ithaca. I don't think there's like any. There's like one gas station, but there was popular like deli that was open 24. So I know a lot of that's economic and just maybe the demand not being there, but I think I've imagined that there's like a big lifestyle choice and people not wanting to run a 24/7
And
business,
there aren't any,
and people not
there
wanting
isn't
to
anyone
work.
to work it either.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, not that there's not anyone, but less people willing to work like shitty graveyard shifts and things like that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's going to be interesting. I mean, I think, I'm of the opinion that there's definitely too many restaurants that exist, at least in our immediate area here. And I'm sure that's the case in a lot of places. And I don't know why that is, because the barrier to entry, it's not like it's small. Like it costs a lot of money and a lot of sacrifice.
That's a good question.
I think it's romantic. It's a romantic idea, which I think is what drew me into it. It just seems appealing. I mean, like everyone loves to eat, everyone loves to go out and have a good time. Putting on that experience for other people has nothing to do with being a customer and enjoying that experience. It's like two different things. But I think that it just like you go to a restaurant and it just, oh, what if I could have a place like this? Look how many people from the community are here enjoying it. It's just like, for me, it was just like innate. And I think it's that way for a lot of people. It's just like, why would you not want to have a place like this? If you go into a popular, there's so much energy.
Yeah.
There's good food. It's, buzzing, and it's like, I want to have a place like this.
Yeah.
But
Why do you think so many people? How do you think so many people end up in it? Given that the barrier is kind of big to entry. Like I actually wonder the same thing. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know either. I mean, I've started like probably 6 businesses in the last 5 years myself. Nothing that like, so when I was 21, I owned a furniture store, and that took a lot of like risk. I think I dumped like my life savings of $40,000 into it. I had a business partner, and that was in 2008, which was a great year to open up a furniture store. Yeah. And after a year, we went out of business, and I think that was just stupid decisions and the economy as to why. But so that was a big risk. And in the last like 4 or 5 years, I've probably started 5 or 6 different businesses, from like a coffee company where I was just sourcing coffee beans from another coffee roaster in town that I knew made really good coffee, and just like private labeling.
Yeah.
So just doing that, but then quickly realized, it's really hard to make money when
Yeah.
you're selling coffee online.
Yeah.
Because it's too expensive. To like a food tour business. Like I started a walking food tour
that's
business
cool.
last.
So you sound very entrepreneurial.
I am
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure. The
yeah.
challenge with me is I use this analogy. I am great at starting a fire. I suck at making sure, or I take that back. Opposite. In real life, I'm great at starting a fire. So I was right. I did have the right train of thought. I'm great at starting a fire. I suck at maintaining it.
Okay, yeah.
So like I can look at something and say, like, great point. I just had a new client start with me from the marketing side. I'm just doing their photography for the current moment. And I was just meeting with him and talking to him, and I just can't help but go through, like, he's telling me, I really need to do this, I really need to do that. And I can see, like, here's the answer,
Yeah.
And by the way, it's just the answer for most restaurants. But if I had to go get a job there and like go in every single day and punch the clock and do it, I would suck at it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, there's a business in that too. Like the ideas guy,
sure.
you make a company and you sell it, and people do that for a living.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So that's why I'm like a little bit more entrepreneurial, just because I can see the ideas and see the areas, but
Yeah.
then just getting them to go.
I think do you relate to that? Or?
yeah, I do. Sometimes I wonder, like I think that there's been elements of just managing our current restaurant that is kind of dry.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of passion and like a reason to wake up every morning, like just career wise. That I don't feel the same passion anymore.
Yeah.
And so I've wondered, like, maybe like I'm a starter, and maybe I should start something else,
Yeah.
and that will get me excited about work again. And then but maybe I just don't want to be a restaurant manager, but I want to start a
Right.
concept.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, a business I've always thought would be a lot of fun to do, and I think there's definitely space for it now. Maybe not in like our immediate area, but definitely in other bigger cities. And that is ghost kitchen licensing. So essentially, like, ghost kitchens, cloud kitchens, whatever they exactly are, exist all over the country, all over the world, right? And the licensing side of things, there's really only 2 companies that are really popular with it. There's one company that does all the celebrities. So they did like Mr. Beast Burger, they do the Barstool Sports, Pardon My Cheesesteak, and Kendall Jenner's fucking ghost kitchen. Like, if it's a celebrity, it's pretty much them.
Okay.
And then there's another company that they have created 8 of their own concepts. They have the branding behind them, the menus, all that kind of stuff, and they license those out. So if you have a restaurant and you want to open up a ghost kitchen, but you have no idea how to do it or don't have a concept, you go to one of these companies, you license one of their concepts. They sell you the packaging. They sell you
I didn't even know this really existed.
yeah, so like they sell you the packaging. So let's say you guys want to open up Mr. Beast Burger. So you go to this company, that you tell them what equipment you have, how big your restaurant is, your hours, all that kind of stuff. They say, okay, great, you can do it. Here's the menu. Here's the ingredient list. If you buy from Cisco, here's the exact item numbers that you would buy. But if not, here's just the exact items that you need to purchase. Here's how they go. Here's how each menu item is assembled. Here's what it looks like in the packaging. You have to buy your paper products from us. And then we'll start your Grubhub and DoorDash and Uber Eats accounts for you, and it'll come to our bank account, and we'll cut you a check, and they keep 20%, okay, or 30% maybe. So that's how those licensing companies work.
That's interesting. Yeah, I didn't know about that concept.
And so there's the celebrity one, and then, like I said, there's a company that they just created, like, you know, Galactic Burgers, right? So they have created the menu. They run the social media account for it. They have the website for it. And so they do really all your marketing. And they'll run like some ads in your area when you open up. But then you give them a percentage of your sales, and they give you the menu and the marketing and the social media and all that kind of stuff behind it. You just have to turn your tablet on. I've often thought that would be a fun business to start because it really...
But you can be competing with two major companies, right? Like...
Yeah, but neither one of them really do a whole shit ton of advertising to restaurants. And, you know, it's something that like it really doesn't require a whole lot to really get a couple clients. I wouldn't do the side of, if I ever did that business, which I never will, because I don't have time. I would never do it where I take a percentage where I'm like, hey, you know, I'll do the Uber Eats stuff and I'll just give you a percentage. I would just do it where it's like, pay me, you know, a couple $100 a month or something small. You know, and I'll do the marketing and all that kind of stuff. And then I can just sit back in my kitchen, or I can go rent a, you know, commercial kitchen, make food to create new content, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I always thought that would be kind of a fun thing because you can kind of, you know.
That's an interesting idea.
Yeah. There's not a lot to like maintain with it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I mean, to answer your question, why I think so many people get into it, I think it's passion, and it's, you know, people have a dream and they have that passion for it in the beginning, and they're like, I love to make food. I want to open a restaurant.
Yeah.
And they never consider like the fallout, the risk potential, and how far back they can set them back in life financially if when they fail.
Yeah.
Because so many of them, like, I don't know what's that number, like 85% of restaurants fail.
I've never known if that's true, but you hear numbers like that.
Yeah, I don't know what the number is, but I've heard a lot of different statistics. Yeah.
Yeah. And so many of them fail, and I'd have to imagine a lot of them. I know of like one dude in Syracuse who's a friend who closed his restaurant down after a year, and it just so or after maybe 2 years, but it just so happened that like the funding he got from COVID, because he opened during COVID, the funding he got from COVID and the sale of his equipment, he didn't owe any money. He was like free and clear when he shut down 2 years into it. You know.
Yeah.
So many people I know owe hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
You know, can't pay their last Cisco bill.
Yeah.
Whatever the case is. And, you know, then they go into massive amounts of debt when they're exiting, and then trying to find another thing. Maybe they're just going to transition and go chef somewhere else, run a restaurant, bartend. Maybe they're completely getting out of the industry.
Yeah.
But there's just so many of them that have the dream and pursue it, and then it's so daunting.
Yeah.
You know?
There's just something that pulls you to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and one thing we've done conceptually and like to stay competitive that didn't align with like our initial concept so much is that, well, we are a restaurant and full bar. Our passion was in cooking when we started and was in food. We knew that we needed a liquor license to make the business work.
Yeah.
So we did it. We had neither of us had any experience, zero bar experience.
Zero.
So that part of the business started off slower. We did hire like a consultant that made a pretty good cocktail menu, and that got us started. That wasn't like a core part of the business when we started because we didn't know anything about it. After doing food for a while, after focusing on the food for a while, I feel like we've slowly switched. We just have put more resources into our bar, and we also evolved our concept. So we're a tequila and mezcal bar also.
Yeah.
And that wasn't part of our name. Like it was just Bickering Twins. Now it's like Bickering Twins Tequila and Mezcal Bar.
That's cool.
And in these years, that spirit like category, like agave spirits, has grown. Interest in it has grown, and we've been like following the demand for that. And we renovated our bar. We gave it a more upscale look. We used nice like mahogany, not mahogany, black walnut. We used nice like tiling, we have like we've really developed that, and that's been going well.
That's great.
Yeah, and it's also was like that was a way to sort of reinvigorate some interest. We were then learning about tequila and mezcal, was something I didn't know a whole lot about, but it was part of like the necessity for keeping the business like interesting and keeping people engaged. Was like I sense that that's what people would want, and so we've like focused a lot on that in the past 2 years.
That's that side of the business is massive. I mean, incredible, way more profitable than food. Less output, far more input. It's easier to get somebody in my opinion, for a drink, than especially off of something they see on social, than it is for an entire dinner experience.
Definitely.
You can get people before dinner, after dinner, during dinner, just all off of a great cocktail. So many people still are focused on bourbon and allocated stuff, and there's not in Syracuse. I don't think there's anybody, maybe one, but I don't think there's anybody who's really pushed into like going after tequila and mezcal and being like, hey, we're the people that know what we're talking about when it comes to that.
Well, that's really our whole thing. We have like 1 gin, 1 vodka, and then like 88 tequila and mezcal.
Jesus, wow.
Yeah. So that's really we're not like a standard bar. We kind of have a few variations of margaritas, mango, tamarind, hibiscus, margarita, and then classic cocktails like palomas, mojitos, classic Latin cocktails, and then like a whole flight, like a whole selection of different tequila and mezcal flights, and then you can just pick a neat pour of like anything off our list as well.
That's awesome. Yeah. There's a restaurant I went to in Cincinnati last year, and they offered mezcal service, which I'd never seen before at a restaurant. But it was like $22 to $50, and it was just a 2-ounce pour or an 1.5 ounce pour of whatever the mezcal was that you selected, but then came with the fruits and the spices and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, how was it?
It was really good.
Yeah.
It was like, I knew nothing about mezcals at the time or what any of them were, and so I just told the server, like, whatever you think I should have.
Yeah.
Have you seen any traction for that in your business? I know you're doing some. Have you seen demand for that or
demand?
Interest in it?
Sure is out there because people want what's new.
Yeah.
They want what people want what's new, but they want what they haven't heard about yet.
Yeah.
And so I think to a certain extent you could pick something, and as long as you're passionate about it and you're constantly posting about it and like keeping it front and center, it will work. But to a certain extent, you can't get too weird with it. But I think if for a place around here, if they were like, hey, we now offer mezcal service, and like had the education piece behind it. I just did this. I was just in New York City and did this podcast from the fancy food show that was going on down there, and I got to interview 3 companies that are Italian food companies. One is L'Aldemio, which is like a over 100-year-old olive oil company, and it's the Frescobaldi family. It's been making wine for over 1,000 years.
Wow.
The Monte Trentini company, which has been making cheese for over 100 years. Rusticella di Abruzzo, which has been making pasta for over 100 years. And then I interviewed the deputy commissioner of commerce for the whole region of Umbria, talking about like their food and imports and all this stuff.
That's cool.
And the thing that like stood out to me the most, and even talking to Steve from the Side Hill or Apple or
South Hill
Cider.
Like even talking with him and then talking with some winemakers that I've been talking to recently, like the thing in that whole, all of those things that really is I'm trying to connect to is all of them have this incredible passion for like the furthering of their craft of like whatever food it is. If it's Monte Trentini, it's about cheese. Asiago and Grana Padano cheeses, right? if it's Steve, it's about New York State ciders, right? And they're all so singularly focused on just trying to further that. Like, they all still, I'm sure, maybe not the 100-year-old Italian companies, but they all still have the same amount of suck in their careers, and what they've chosen to do. Like there's still aspects of their business that absolutely suck. And I'm sure where they question, like, why the fuck did I ever do this?
Yeah.
But they still kind of set forward on the same mission of like trying to educate, like trying to take care of people, entertain them, bring some level of hospitality and value to them through their products, educate them on them, right? Like,
And do you think that's like a recipe for success, or?
I don't know if it's a recipe for success.
Well, I mean, that one of them's been making wine for 1,000 years, so.
Yeah, I mean that's different. I mean, you're in Italy, right?
Yeah.
But that's. I think.
But you saw a common thread.
I think the common thread is, it's like different. It's like separating themselves from like separating yourself from your competition to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And also just like it almost gives like the suck some sort of a purpose besides just trying to like make money at your restaurant.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that's true. I think it's all true. What I just said.
I think so.
Yeah. But so when it comes to you guys and pushing, like if your competitors, so to speak, if there are other Mexican restaurants or whoever it is who aren't offering all that variety of agave spirits, and then you provide something like a mezcal service where you get to, take a moment and like educate your customer on proper mezcal and consumption. I mean, I'm not.
And
saying
that's what we do. We have tasting cards that have a lot of information.
That's
so
cool.
I put a lot of work into this a few years ago, and we've been working this concept sort of like organically. Like, I haven't had to create a bunch of new content.
Cool.
I bought nice wooden boards. We have nice glassware. What we spent time was like ourselves. I don't like to do something that I'm not invested in. We was like, I identified that it was like a good business decision to try to go in this direction, but I didn't need to just start like buying random shit and try and sell it. Like, me and Corey have done so much research on this stuff, like finding the best products and educating ourselves. And then we just put it out there. I think it's going in the right direction. I think we need to stick with it. I think we're just at the very beginning. I think there's like a lot of potential, but
That's cool.
Yeah, it's not like, so I had read statistics, like there was the boom for agave spirits has happened like over like the last 8 years or so. And in some respects is not over, but like, so the category grew by was growing like 30% a year or something wild. Like that sort of growth is probably over.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think that it's just beginning, because
It outsold whiskey last year in the U.S.
in 2023, agave spirits outsold whiskey by over $1 billion.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think vodka is still actually. I think vodka is was number one for the number
That's
one
wild.
selling spirit for the longest time, but American whiskey was up there. Agave spirits outsold it, and there seems to be like a ton of interest in it. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. I think we offer like a unique experience. We got, it's a question of people come into this region for all sorts of tourism reasons, including wine region. But yeah, I think we can offer that. It stands out. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in and chatting. And for everybody listening and watching, tell them where they can find the restaurant.
Yeah, so we're located in downtown Ithaca at 114 North Cayuga Street. We're down in the basement, orange awning.
Okay, cool.
Bickering Twins, yep.
Awesome. All right. And then where's your website and all that?
BickeringTwins.com.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
Our hours, we're open Tuesday through Sunday. We're open for dinner 5 to 9, 9:30 until 9:30 on Fridays and Saturdays. And yeah, hope to extend some hours in the near future.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for chatting
having
with
us.
us.